Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to report on this because it is absolutely hilarious, and I'm sure you guys might have seen this recently, but a couple of YouTubers, who I will not name, that shouldn't be making videos about stuff like this, made videos about a strategy in which you can basically hold the game hostage, and you can win due to the generators not being completed in a 10-minute window due to the new abandon system. Basically, if a survivor hasn't completed a generator, then you can hit abandon the match and all the survivors die, and then the game is over. They don't drop dead, but it counts as like an actual win for the killer. So there is sort of like a chess merchant light strat where it's not like you're waiting an hour for the servers to time out, but you could defend a 3-gen very, very heavily and make it so if a survivor does not complete a generator within 10 minutes, then the game is considered a win for the killer if he hits escape and then hits abandon. So there were a couple videos about this, and it is one of the most obnoxious things you can do. So first off, before I go any further, please don't do that. The game is not that important. Just take the L. It's so much better than just doing that for your entire life playing this game. Now, to be fair, I don't really see people doing this very much at all, so that is a good thing. But whenever there are videos posted about things like this, you will see a slight rise in it. So I'm just telling you right now, it's just not worth it, man. Just don't do that. Don't just sit at a 3-gen for longer than the entire duration of a game just so you can get basically a pity win from an abandoned system that is currently not really working correctly. Just don't do that. It's a shitty thing to do. I don't really know how to describe that better. It's a shitty, I would call it borderline toxic thing to do. You're not even really trying to play the actual game anymore. You're basically exploiting a loophole in a system that is just don't do it. Just don't do it. Just don't do that. All that being said, I did learn something absolutely hilarious from this whole thing. And then according to Mandy on the forums here, doing this, you're actually losing every time as killer. She said, just on the visual, the endgame screen doesn't reflect that. However, if the killer uses the abandon feature, it is most definitely counted as a loss. So this whole strategy to get wins as killer, you're actually just losing every game, which is just fucking hilarious to me this whole time. Not only are you being a twat, you're also just losing. So there's literally no positive outcome to what you're doing. You're just making the community a worse place. Yay for you. Good job. But I wanted to talk about this aspect of it. This is the important part of the discussion here. All that previous stuff was just sort of fluff, and I found it really funny. But this is a problem here. Mandy is basically saying here, if no generators are completed within 10 minutes, and then the killer hits abandon, then the killer does not win, the killer loses. Which means if the killer is abandoning in that scenario, then the killer is losing instead of winning. And I've been in scenarios where there's one survivor left. They get down, they disconnect, and then I abandon the match because I don't want to sit there and wait for the more. I just want to get to the next match. Apparently, I've been losing every time that I do that, despite the fact there's no one left alive, because the response she was responding to said, I thought if you abandoned a match, it counted as a loss for you, so shouldn't the killer abandon the match mean they lost? Mandy's saying, yeah, that's the case, which means in that scenario, as killer, now I'm not doing it too often because the person that I'm mooring has to actually disconnect for me to be able to actually hit the abandoned match feature. So it's not like it's happening every time or anything, but, there were probably maybe 25% of my games where I just don't care to watch the Mori because I've seen it 8,000 times. So as I'm doing it, they disconnect. I hit abandon. It saves me a few seconds. And yeah, apparently I've been losing. So that is wildly problematic because that means killers can win every single game and lower their MMR every single game, which makes absolutely no sense. It is absurdly abusable. You can basically self-smurf while winning every single game if this is the case. So that is a massive problem, and just for the record, the way to fix the other issue is just make it so if a generator has not been touched in 3 minutes, you get the abandon, by the way. Super easy fix. Don't make it based on generator completion. Make it based on generators being touched. The whole point of it is to stop people from just hiding for 10 minutes and just winning by being a pure rat. So just make it so if you just touch a generator, you'd have to lower the timer down to like 2 or 3 minutes. Same exact result. Then the killer would still win in that scenario. But the way that she's wording this, you would lose in that scenario as killer, and that is a huge problem because that's massively abusable for basically self-fixing your own MMR. Now, the only argument I can possibly offer to this is that Mandy is just wrong. because Mandy, unfortunately, has been wrong several times about very critical things about how the game works. And it's not like she's being malicious or she's stupid or anything like that. A lot of times there are internal changes that might not make it over to a community manager, and they might not have great communication, which is when they're the community manager. They probably should have good communication, but there have been several times where she has just been completely wrong about stuff. My point is, don't like attack her. She just doesn't have the information. She's not like outwardly lying about it. But I would not be surprised to find that she is wrong here. Solely due to the fact that it is so abundantly obvious how abusable a system like this would be that it cannot possibly be how that functions. There's no way even behavior would miss such an obvious flaw in the system. Not only that, but then explicitly tell people on the forums about such an obvious flaw in the system. I refuse to believe, and I know people are going to go, it's behavior, you know, they're the worst company ever, blah, blah. I truly do not think they're that stupid. There's no way. So I'm willing to bet here this is not actually how it works, and Mandy is just incorrect here. But if this is the case, holy shit, then I will say they are that stupid, because that is the dumbest possible decision you can make, where you basically implement a smurfing system into your game that you can legally do for free. So, yeah, that would be embarrassing on their end, but I am more siding on that she's just simply misinformed here. Strange, though, that even if that was the case, you would tell people that that's how that works. But either way, I think the abandon system is a really good system for the game. It's really, really nice for saving unnecessary time spent lingering in an already decided match. That is one of the most important, and in fact, the most important aspect of the whole thing. There are just a couple little tweaks they need. There's a couple of systems where, like, you know, for example, if you are in a two-person left scenario as survivor and your teammate gets down and you're slugged, you should both be able to, you know, abandon in that scenario. The game's obviously over. Unless someone has Unbreakable or something, maybe then you don't make it abandonable or whatever, but there are definitely a lot of things that they can add to make the abandoned system cover every unpleasant scenario while still not being abusable in any way. It's not like the abandoned system makes the survivor leave, it just replaces it with a bot, so the killer still gets their 4K. There's no harm on the killer end, no harm on the survivor end. It's a free win for everybody. It's just overall a good thing to do. So they do need to expand the system a bit to cover really every unpleasant situation, and the way they did it is actually really nice. So as long as exploits like this are addressed, and again, I'm still erring on the fact that I'm pretty sure she's just wrong here. But as long as stuff like this is addressed, I still think the system is overall a massive win, and it really helps alleviate a lot of frustrations with the game. So overall, this is good stuff. They just need to fix it and work on ways to address people that are kind of trying to abuse the system in a malicious way. So we'll see if this is the case or not. I'm really curious to hear what their comment on it will be, because they're going to have to comment on this. Otherwise, their entire system is just completely broken, and it's a very crucial issue. So that's about it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.